soldier planned a quiet weekend getaway. A chance to love, to heal, to start again. But before the sun rose, she was gone. No note, no trace, only a phone and the secret it held. What he discovered next wasn't heartbreak. It was betrayal. A soldier chasing love, a woman hiding truth, and a storm that began the night she vanished. The house was hushed, a suburban silence so complete it made Amanda's heartbeat sound like a drum in her chest. She moved through the hallway with careful steps, her bare feet grazing the polished wood, every creak threatening to betray her. The digital clock on the wall glowed 2:13 a.m. In the dim light, she slipped into a pair of worn jeans and pulled a dark hoodie over her trembling frame. Her fingers found the envelope she'd hidden days ago, thick with cash, and an old flip phone, its scratches telling stories of another life. Amanda hesitated at the bedroom door. Luke was there, the man she had promised herself to, sprawled across the bed in the kind of vulnerable sleep soldiers rarely allow themselves. His chest rose and fell with the calm of someone who believed the world outside was safe, or at least manageable. She crept closer. The moonlight framed his face, the strong jaw, the faint scar near his brow, reminders of battles fought far away. Amanda's hand hovered inches above his cheek, her throat tightening with unshed tears. "Luke," she whispered, barely audible, a breath more than a word. Her lips trembled. For a heartbeat, she considered waking him, telling him everything. But the weight of secrets pressed down heavier than love tonight. With a strangled breath, she pulled back, retreating before her resolve shattered. A single tear slipped free, falling silently onto the carpet as her resolve pulled her toward the exit. Outside on the street now, Amanda pulled her hood tighter, her hands trembling inside her sleeves. She glanced one last time at the house, the home Luke had built for them, filled with laughter, plans, promises. Her chest ached, but her feet didn't stop moving. At the corner, a taxi idled in the shadows, headlights flicking once in signal. Amanda's breath caught. For a second, she hesitated, the temptation to turn back pulling at her like a tide. "Miss Trist?" The driver's low voice cut across the silence. Amanda flinched, then nodded quickly, forcing her voice steady. "Yes, I'm here." The back door opened with a muted creak, and she slid inside. As the car pulled away, she pressed her forehead against the cold window, watching the neighborhood blur into darkness. Her phone buzzed once in her pocket, a reminder, or perhaps a warning, but she ignored it. Amanda closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "Don't look back. Don't you dare look back." The taxi disappeared into the night, taking her with it. Morning sunlight spilled weakly through the blinds, stirring Luke Othman on under the white stream of bedsheets, his arm instinctively reaching across the sheets for Amanda. The linen was cold, empty. He blinked, sat up, rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "Amanda!" His voice was groggy, casual, expecting a reply from the kitchen, maybe the bathroom. Silence. Luke swung his legs off the bed, feet finding the floor. A frown furrowed his brow when he noticed the closet door ajar. Inside, spaces gaped where clothes should have been, jeans gone, a hoodie missing. "Amanda!" His voice was sharper now, tension creeping in. He checked the bathroom. Empty. The kitchen. Quiet. Untouched. Back in the bedroom, something on the nightstand caught his eye. Her phone. The old device lay there, face down, lifeless. Luke picked it up, his chest tightening. Why would she leave this? He muttered, almost to himself. He dialed her number anyway, using his own cell. The call rang and rang until the hollow sound of her phone vibrating in his palm mocked him. He dropped it back onto the nightstand, his movements jerky. He tore through the house, front door unlocked. No note, no message, no trace of her except the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. Luke's breath came faster, the soldier in him struggling to mask the man. No, this doesn't make sense. His palms pressed into the kitchen counter, knuckles whitening. He looked around wildly as if she might emerge from a corner with a sheepish smile, but the silence answered him back. Luke staggered to the living room, dragging a hand over his face. Panic set in, hot and suffocating. His instinct screamed something was wrong. He sank into a chair, elbows on knees, hands gripping his head. "Amanda!" His voice was almost loud. "Please, where are you?" The terminal of the airport buzzed with chatter and rolling suitcases. But for Luke Othman, the world felt muted, each step down the concourse heavy with anticipation. He adjusted the strap of his duffel, scanning the crowd until, Amanda! She was there, breaking through the throng, hair tumbling as she ran. Luke dropped the bag, arms open. They collided in an embrace. You're here, Amanda whispered into his shoulder, clutching his. I told you I'd come back. Luke's voice was steady, yet his eyes gleamed. He held her at arm's length to study her face, tracing every detail as though relearning it. Applause rose around them. Mrs. Evelyn Carter, their elderly neighbor with her ever-present shawl, beamed from the crowd. Welcome home, soldier, she called, clapping her hands. A few others joined, offering handshakes and smiles. Luke managed a sheepish grin, didn't expect a parade. You earned it, Evelyn said warmly. This street has been waiting for you. Amanda slipped her hand into his, squeezing tight, unwilling to let go. Her eyes shone with tears. Luke kissed her forehead. Let's go home. The terminal noise returned, but in that moment, nothing mattered but the woman in his arms and the ground beneath his boots. Later that evening in a restaurant, a soft jazz tune floated from the corner, almost in rhythm with the clinking wine glasses and polished cutlery. Luke, in a crisp shirt for once out of uniform, fidgeted with the small box in his pocket. Amanda laughed lightly at something he said, though her fingers toyed absent-mindedly with the edge of her napkin. He cleared his throat lightly. Ahem. Amanda, there's something I've wanted to say since the day I met you. Deployment gave me time to think about life, about what's worth fighting for. Her eyes softened, lips parting in quiet surprise. Luke dropped to one knee, the small velvet box opening with a click. A diamond glimmered in the candlelight. Amanda Trist, will you marry me? Gasps rose from nearby tables. A waiter paused mid-step, grinning at the scene. Amanda's hands flew to her mouth. Tears welled instantly. Yes, she breathed, then louder. Yes! Luke slipped the ring onto her finger. The room broke into applause, strangers sharing their joy. He rose and kissed her, a kiss full of promise and devotion. Amanda clung to him, her voice muffled against his chest. I love you, Luke. More applause followed, then clinking of glasses and laughter from the strangers around. When they got home, Amanda couldn't wait to have him the whole night. Every inch of her ached for him. The sex was passionate, the heat and pleasure enveloping them all at once. Then the night came, drifting gradually into silence as the two lovebirds sprawled on the large bed. But Luke wasn't done with his fiancée. The next morning, Amanda was curled up on the couch, running her fingers on the rim of the engagement ring on her finger, the tenderness and passion of yesterday night still on her face. She half watched as Luke rummaged through a drawer with boyish energy. Close your eyes, he said, grinning over his shoulder. Amanda raised a brow. Luke, come on, humor me, soldier's orders. She sighed, but let her eyes flutter shut, a faint smile touching her lips. She heard paper rustling, the quick shuffle of steps, then silence. Okay, he said softly. Open. Amanda blinked, her eyes open. In Luke's hands was a sleek folder, the kind travel agencies handed out with promise in every page. He flipped it open proudly, laying two glossy tickets on the table. Sunlit beaches, turquoise seas, palms swaying in impossible blue. Seychelles, he announced, his chest swelling. 2 weeks, all-inclusive resort. Booked under both our names. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, Amanda. Just you and me. No deployments, no distractions, just us. Her breath caught. The word Seychelles landed heavy. For him, it was paradise. For her, it was something else entirely. Luke. She leaned forward, forcing her lips into a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. It's beautiful. He sat beside her, slipping an arm around her shoulders. You deserve it. After waiting, after everything you've put up with. This is how I show you I'm not going anywhere. Amanda stared at the tickets, her fingers brushing the glossy paper. Inside, dread coiled like a serpent, but she pressed it down, hiding it beneath practiced brightness. It's perfect, she whispered. Luke kissed her temple, satisfied, already picturing beaches and sunsets. He didn't notice how rigid her posture had become, or the way her fingers tightened against the edge of the folder, as if it burned. For him, the future gleamed, but for her, it loomed. The days that followed came with usual energy, only that for Amanda, it is no longer genuine. Luke took Amanda with him to the food stocks market to stock up the kitchen. They strolled through the Saturday farmers market, Luke carrying a paper bag filled with fresh bread and apples, while Amanda sampled slices of cheese from a smiling vendor. He teased her over her picky tastes. She teased him about the uniform stride he couldn't quite shed even in civilian clothes. Later in the kitchen, they chopped vegetables side by side. Luke told a story about a buddy from deployment who'd mistaken powdered sugar for flour. and Amanda burst into laughter so bright it echoed against the tiled walls. For a moment, it was the picture of contentment, domestic, ordinary, safe. But the cracks showed when no one was watching. At night, when Luke's breathing settled into steady sleep, Amanda lay awake, eyes open to the ceiling. Sometimes she slipped out of bed, padding quietly to the porch where the cool air wrapped around her. She stood there for long minutes, phone in hand, scrolling through numbers she had last dialed long time ago. On one of those nights, she walked further down quiet suburban streets, hoodie pulled over her head, her shadow stretching long beneath the street lamps. Her thoughts tangled, circling secrets she couldn't share, choices she couldn't undo. By day, her smile was intact. She still kissed Luke's cheek, still stirred the pot on the stove, still waved to Mrs. Evelyn Carter across the fence. But her laughter came quicker than it used to, as though she was afraid of silence. Luke noticed little things, her distracted glances, the way her grip lingered on the edge of the counter, as if grounding herself. But he dismissed them. After war, anyone deserved time to settle. For Amanda, though, the storm was already forming. It's been 3 days since the vacation surprise Luke gave Amanda, and the date is not due until 2 more days. The apartment glowed in candlelight, the remains of a romantic dinner still on the table, 2 half-finished glasses of wine, plates scattered with crumbs, a faint trail of laughter lingering in the air. Luke leaned back, watching Amanda with a softness he rarely allowed himself in uniform. "You outdid yourself," he said, gesturing at the empty dishes. Amanda smiled faintly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Maybe I just wanted to spoil you for once." Luke chuckled, shaking his head. "You already do, every day." They moved to the couch where music hummed low from the stereo. His arm draped over her shoulders, hers across his chest. Then into the bedroom, where the pleasures of romance and sex dwarfed the massive bed. After they showered, conversation meandered between plans for tomorrow, memories of old trips, shared jokes only they understood. It was ordinary and beautiful. Later, when the apartment had quieted and the candles had burned low, Luke drifted into sleep. Amanda lay beside him, wide awake. The shadows on the ceiling stretched long, shifting with the faint flicker of the last candle. She turned on her side, her gaze fixed on him. Her hand reached out tentatively, fingertips barely brushing his arm before pulling back. Her lips parted. She whispered something, too soft to carry, the words swallowed by the stillness of the night. A farewell, a confession, a prayer. Luke stirred faintly, murmuring incoherently before settling again. Amanda's eyes stung, but she blinked the tears away, pressing her face into the pillow to muffle a soundless sob. The night held its breath, and in that fragile silence, Amanda gave her heart one last look at the life she was about to abandon. The apartment felt foreign to Luke that morning, as though the walls themselves knew Amanda was gone. Her perfume still clung faintly to the curtains, her slippers sat neatly by the bed, but every detail screamed absence. By the time the police arrived, his nerves were frayed raw. Detective Mark Reynolds stood with his hands in his pockets, surveying the place with the disinterest of a man who'd seen too many false alarms. His tie was loosened, his jaw working a piece of gum like it was his only real concern. "So," Reynolds said flatly, "you wake up, she's gone. No note, no sign of a struggle, closet's half empty. Mr. Othman, that sounds like cold feet more than a crime." Luke bristled. "You don't understand. Amanda wouldn't just leave. Not like this, not without telling me." The detective scribbled something into his notebook without looking up. "It happens. Engagement jitters. People bolt. You'd be surprised how often." Luke stepped forward, fists tightening at his sides. "She's not people. She's Amanda. His voice cracked, the words collapsing into silence. From the corner, a younger officer shifted her stance. Officer Carla Hughes had been quiet until now, her sharp eyes moving carefully over the apartment. She spoke softly, her tone carrying more weight than Reynolds' entire report. "Mr. Othman," she said, "if she left something behind, something she shouldn't have, you'll find it? People don't vanish clean." Luke's gaze snapped to hers. She didn't flinch. For a moment, it felt like she was the only one in the room who believed him. But Reynolds was already closing his notebook. "We'll file it, but right now it doesn't look criminal. If she doesn't turn up in a couple days, call again." He gave a perfunctory nod and left, the door clicking shut behind him. Silence swallowed the room once more. Luke's hands shook as he dragged them through his hair. Carla lingered at the threshold a second longer, then gave him a look steady, urging, and followed her partner out. Back inside, Luke felt the weight of her words pressing against him. People don't vanish clean. He tore through the apartment, his search frantic, almost violent. Drawers yanked open. Closet doors rattled against hinges. He overturned cushions, checked shelves, sifted through piles of folded laundry. Every empty corner made his chest tighter, his breath harsher. Finally, he dragged Amanda's old suitcase from beneath the bed. It was lighter than it should have been. He unzipped it, rifled through the lining with trembling hands, and froze. There, wedged deep into the fabric seam, was a second phone, sleeker and modern. A deposit slip was tucked behind it, but the device had his complete attention. Luke stared at it, his pulse thundering in his ears. His reflection glared back at him in the dark glass, a soldier staring into a battlefield he didn't understand. "Amanda," he whispered, "what the hell were you hiding?" The hidden phone lay heavy in Luke's palm, far too sleek to belong in Amanda's world of hand-me-down gadgets and quiet routines. He sat on the edge of their bed, the sheets still rumpled from the night she disappeared, staring at the device as though it might bite. His thumb hesitated, then pressed the power button. The screen flickered to life, no wallpaper, just the sterile glow of a locked interface. The passcode showed 4 empty boxes. Instincts led him, and he keyed in Amanda's birth year, or what, in the new reality, he believed to be her birth year. The lock dissolved into the screen. Luke scrolled through the contents. Barely anything remained. Most of the message threads were wiped, leaving only fragments. Short, jagged pieces that read like puzzle edges without a picture. "The island," Victor will know. "Don't use this line unless—" His stomach clenched. An island, a name, each fragment deep in the shadow between them. Then he saw it. One saved voicemail. His thumb hovered above it, reluctant, as if pressing play might unravel the last thread of the woman he thought he knew. But he couldn't stop himself. The room filled with her voice, trembling, raw. "If you ever hear this, forgive me. I couldn't bring the storm to you. Please, please understand." Static crackled, then silence. Luke sat frozen, the phone pressed to his ear long after the message ended. He could almost see her saying it, her lips shaking, her eyes glossed with tears she'd never let him wipe away. He pulled the phone down, staring at it as though it might explain itself. His chest tightened, a soldier's discipline cracking under the weight of something no battlefield had ever prepared him for. "This isn't running away," he whispered to the empty room, unwrapping the folded deposit slip with his thumb and index finger. "This is something else." The second phone, the cryptic fragments, the trembling goodbye, it all pointed to a truth Luke didn't yet understand. But he knew one thing with certainty. Amanda wasn't just gone. She was in danger. The deposit slip had a single bank name on it, and a detail that didn't mention only cash. Luke held on to it like a lifeline as he stood in the hushed lobby of First Colonial Bank. Behind the counter, a middle-aged clerk adjusted her glasses and peered at him over a monitor. Her nameplate read Clara Keene. Her voice was even, careful. "You're here about safe deposit box number 417? Luke nodded, sliding what might pass as an authentication slip across the counter. "It's under Amanda Trist. She's my fiancée." "Mr. Othman," Clara came again, "we are not entirely at liberty to disclose the content of a deposit box to someone not listed as dependent by the depositor." Luke produced what seemed like a police report, his voice hushed. "She might be in danger, and what's inside that box might help." Clara studied him for a beat too long, her eyes narrowing ever so slightly before she disappeared into the back. When she returned, she motioned him toward a private room. "Follow me, Mr. Othman." The narrow hallway muted the sounds of the lobby. Clara's heels clicked against the tile, sharp and deliberate. She unlocked the box with a key, then withdrew a slim metal drawer and set it on the table between them. "You're certain you want to see this?" she asked, her tone edged with warning. Luke took a quick gaze at her. "I have to find her." Clara opened the box. Inside lay items that didn't belong to the woman he thought he knew. 3 identification cards, each with Amanda's face but bearing different names. A faded resort brochure, the cover boasting turquoise waters and palm trees under the heading, "Seychelles, Paradise Awaits." Luke's throat went dry. What is Amanda doing with more than one identification? Then he raised his gaze on Clara. "What is my fiancé hiding?" Clara's expression didn't change. Her hands folded neatly in front of her, but her voice softened into something almost pitying. "In my experience, our clients hide stuffs that they don't want found. But since you mentioned she's your fiancé and in danger, I guess it's imperative you see and ask. I'm afraid I have no idea." Luke's jaw tightened. He gathered the IDs and brochure, His decision was made before she even finished speaking. "I'm not afraid of her past," he said firmly. "I'm afraid of losing her." Clara's gaze lingered on him, something unreadable flickering in her eyes. She closed the empty deposit box, slid it back into its slot, and turned away without another word. Left alone in the sterile room, Luke stared at the brochure's faded cover. Seychelles. The island wasn't just a vacation, it was a key, and he would follow it, no matter where it led. But first, he'd have to get to London. There is a ring to the name Victor, and it sounds like someone that needs to be met with first. London's rain-slicked streets glowed beneath neon and lamplight, puddles shimmering with distorted reflections. Luke pushed through the warped wooden door of a backstreet pub, the kind of place where shadows nursed pints as fiercely as grudges. The air reeked of stale beer, damp wool, and cigarette smoke that clung to the ceiling like a second skin. At the far end of the bar, a man sat alone with a half-empty glass of scotch. Silver hair combed back, sharp suit dulled by years of wear, his eyes scanned the room with the paranoia of someone who'd made too many enemies. Victor Hammond. A deep social media checks and few inquiries had confirmed what Victor looked like and where to find him. Luke crossed the room, every instinct from deployment whispering, "Don't show fear." He stopped at the table, his hand firm on the back of the empty chair. "Victor Hammond?" The man's lips curled into a smirk. "Depends who's asking." Luke sat without permission. "I'm looking for Amanda Trist." At that, Victor chuckled low, swirling his drink. "Amanda Trist, that's rich. Haven't heard that name in years." He leaned forward, his breath thick with whiskey. "But Jessica Neal, oh, I remember her." Luke's chest tightened. "Jessica?" Victor's eyes glinted. "I guess you know her by Amanda. Well, you can already tell she went by few other names. Your Amanda played another game before you ever came along. At the heart of it all, she burned Calloway's empire in the Seychelles to the ground. Left him ruined, clever girl, dangerous girl." Luke leaned in, fists clenched on the table. "Who is Calloway?" Victor's smirk widened, shark-like. "Ah, see, that's where things get expensive. My memory improves with incentive." Luke gritted his teeth. "You want money." "I want silence," Victor corrected smoothly. "Yours, not mine. You start mentioning Calloway and Jessica Neal in the same discussion, or start chasing Jessica Neal too loudly, you'll draw the wrong kind of ears. And trust me, soldier, you don't want them hearing your name." The words landed heavy. Luke sat back, breath unsteady, the fragments rearranging themselves into something darker than he had imagined. Amanda wasn't the victim of a past she couldn't escape. She authored it. She chose it. Still, his heart refused to surrender. "I don't care what she was," he said hoarsely. "She's Amanda to me, and I will find her." Victor's laughter was low, dangerous, echoing through the dim-lit pub. "Then God help you, boy, because chasing Jessica Neal is how men disappear." Luke stood, his chair scraping across the wooden floor. He left Victor to his drink, the weight of betrayal and devotion twisting inside him. From behind him, Victor's voice came once more. "I'd check out that beach at Seychelles if I were you. You might find breadcrumbs there, or even more. But I'd do it quietly. Her name raises dust over there, might also be looking behind your back." Luke stepped outside, his mind now fully set on Seychelles. The rain hit colder, whispering the truth. Amanda wasn't lost to him. She had walked through the storm, perhaps, still walking through it. The air in Seychelles was thick with salt and sunlight, a paradise that seemed too bright for the shadows Luke carried. Palms swayed lazily outside the archives building, their leaves rattling in the ocean breeze. Inside, however, the world was dust and silence. Old fans creaked overhead, pushing warm air across rows of neglected files stacked in towering metal cabinets. Luke leaned over a desk piled with records, his shirt clinging to his back from the heat. The clerk, a weary man with spectacles sliding down his nose, slid a heavy folder across the table, a gesture well compensated by Luke. "Calloway Richard," the clerk muttered. "Insurance fraud, embezzlement scandal. Nearly tore the island's finance sector apart 8 years ago." Luke pulled the folder open. Paper yellowed at the edges, ink faded but legible. He skimmed headlines. "Millions vanish in offshore accounts. Prominent manager disgraced. Calloway flees, associates unnamed." A series of black and white photographs slipped free from the packet. Luke caught them before they slid to the floor. He froze. In one grainy image, Calloway stood on a sunlit veranda, his hand raised in false confidence. Beside him, half-turned, was a woman in oversized sunglasses, her hair caught by the wind. The silhouette was blurred, almost unremarkable, except Luke would have known that shape anywhere. The tilt of the head, the narrow shoulders, the curve of her jaw beneath the shadow of the glasses. Amanda, or Jessica. His throat tightened. He pressed the photograph flat on the desk, staring at it as though sheer will could pull answers from its grain. The clerk cleared his throat. You know her? Luke's jaw clenched. I thought I did. Guess no one actually knows her, the clerk said, half chuckling. The media and papers reported Richard Calloway embezzled funds, missing millions and all that. But at the back of it, that woman's shadow looms. Calloway's allies insist he was set up by her, but there were too many evidences against him for the company board to look away. If she indeed set him up, she did a damn good job, planting evidences where they needed to be. Are there other pictures of them? Perhaps in some other city? Luke asked, never removing his gaze from the image. I wouldn't know that. Actually, glad I don't. The clerk chuckled again. Resumed work here few weeks before the scandal, but reports suggested they were seen together for months. The clerk pursed as if waiting for Luke to say something. Luke didn't respond. Anyways, she disappeared immediately the news surfaced, the clerk resumed. Rumor has it that Calloway is haunting her. It's been 5 years now. Wouldn't stop if it were me, the lady who supposedly orchestrated his downfall. Luke took a quick glance at the clerk and returned it to the picture. He gathered the papers back into the folder, but his hand lingered on the photograph, fingers curling against the edges. Outside the building, the sea stretched impossibly blue, waves folding gently against white sand. It was the same beach Luke had promised Amanda they would walk together one day, a promise born of love, not lies. Now it mocked him, the paradise a backdrop to secrets she had never trusted him with. He stepped out into the heat, the folder tucked under his arm, and stared at the horizon. She was here, he whispered, voice rough, but not with me. The breeze carried the words away, leaving him alone with the cruel truth. The island he dreamed of as their sanctuary had already been hers, a battlefield of secrets and betrayal. He'd need to find out more. To find her, even if it means spending more days in this city. The streets of May, where Luke lodged in a hotel suite, shifted at dusk, trading their brightness for the layered haze of twilight. Street vendors shuttered stalls, the smell of grilled fish and spices lingering in the air. Tourists laughed near beachside cafes, but Luke walked apart from them, his shoulders tense. Something gnawed at the back of his mind, an itch he couldn't shake. He had noticed it, but he still needed to confirm it. A black sedan rolled slowly down the narrow street behind him. Each time Luke stopped to glance into a shop window, the car eased to a crawl, never overtaking. His pulse quickened. Also on a veranda across the street, a man leaned on the railing, cigarette glowing faintly in the dim. He wasn't looking at the road or the horizon. His eyes followed Luke. Luke ducked into a side alley, heart pounding. The sedan continued past, but the unease didn't lift. Someone had decided his arrival here wasn't going unnoticed. Luke, the voice came from the shadows. He turned sharply. Victor Hammond stepped out from beneath an overhang, his white linen shirt open at the chest, as if he'd been lounging too. You, Luke hissed. London wasn't far enough for you? Victor chuckled, low and lazy. London was an appetizer. Here's the feast. He took a drag from a cigarette, smoke curling around his words. You think she's gone, but she's closer than you know. That sneaky beauty is always close. Luke's fists tightened. Stop speaking in riddles. Where is she? Victor exhaled, eyes narrowing with amusement. It's not about where she is. It's what she's hiding. He flicked the cigarette to the ground, crushing it with his heel. If you doubt me, ask Clara. If you are digging into Jessica or Amanda or whatever new name she currently goes by, you surely must have come across Clara. If you haven't, you soon will. The name struck like a blade. Clara Keene, back in Washington in the bank. How could Victor know about her? Luke stepped closer, his voice sharp. You seem to know more than you are letting on. Why are you here? You want me to find her, or you want me lost? Victor's smile curved dangerously. Both can be true. You don't know whether I'm helping you or hunting you. That's the fun, isn't it? He produced another cigarette from his chest pocket and lit it. No one had ever come looking for her with your level of determination. That's attractive. I too am looking for something. Maybe you can help me find it. But above all, I'm a businessman. The sound of an engine revving in the distance pulled Luke's eyes toward the street. By the time he turned back, Victor had melted into the shadows again, leaving only the faint smell of tobacco and the echo of his taunts. Luke stood alone in the alley, chest heaving, realization sinking in. Every step closer to Amanda meant stepping into Victor's game. And games with men like Victor rarely ended clean. It was 2 hours before midnight. Luke had been pacing the corners of his hotel suite, replaying Victor's words, when the knock came, soft, quick, almost hesitant. He froze. Another knock, then silence. Luke crossed the room and pulled open the door. The veranda was empty, the night deserted. Only the cicadas hummed in the distance. At his feet lay an envelope, cream-colored, edges creased as though handled too long. His stomach tightened. He crouched, lifted it carefully, his name written across the front in a hand he knew better than his own heartbeat. Amanda's. Luke shut the door, back pressed against the wood. For a moment he couldn't move. Then he tore it open, the paper whispering under his hands. The letter was only quarter of a page, the bottom ripped away, words slanting in a hurried scrawl. Luke, every day I chose you, but I could not let my shadow touch your light. Please, I'd like you to stop looking, to protect my truth. Please. The ink blurred in places, smudged as if her hand had trembled, or as if tears had fallen. He sank onto the bed, staring at the note, reading it again and again until the words branded themselves into him. Now it was about one question, heavy as the ocean outside his window. What is this truth you do not want come to light, Amanda? How big is it that even I must not know? The questions gnawed at him. If he were to find her, would he cling to her despite the secrets, the lies? Or would he have the strength to let her go before her shadows swallowed them both? The letter crumpled slightly in his fist. There are questions now begging for answers in Washington, one of them already clawing on his curiosity. What else does Clara know that isn't hidden in the safety box? Luke hadn't slept on the flight back to Washington, Amanda's letter folded in his pocket like a wound he kept reopening. It was past closing time when he reached the bank, but his hardened resolve would not let him wait till the next morning. And so, he found his way to Clara Keene's home. Clara Keene's home office was small, lined with filing cabinets and the faint smell of old books. Across her from the table, Luke's curiosity was steaming. She looked at him, and for a moment something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, dread, perhaps both. Luke? Her voice was tight. You shouldn't be here in my house. It's past closing time. He took a quick look at the street through the open window, as if to ensure no one else was listening. I don't know how deep whatever this is, but Victor was in Seychelles, he said flatly. He mentioned you in a very interesting way. The name cracked the air between them. Clara's hands folded neatly on the desk, twitched. Mr. Othman, you need to stop, she said. You don't know what you're getting at, and I'm going to need you to leave now. I know Amanda trusted you, Luke pressed. He leaned forward, his palms on the desk. You helped her. You've been helping her all along. Then he produced the letter, half crumpled. Look at this. It came to me in Imade, Seychelles, he said, sliding the paper towards her. Clara read through the few lines without lifting it. Her composure wavered. Her eyes shone, then she turned her face away. For a long moment, the only sound was the distant hum of the city beyond the glass. Finally, her voice broke. Yes, I helped her. I had to. Years ago, when she came to me, she wasn't just running from the scandal. Clara peered through the window in the distant street, arms now folded across her chest. My niece is the strongest girl I've known. She grew up in the toughest wood known. If I had control of destiny, I would have chosen something else for her. But you see, her destiny chose her, and she isn't one to run from storms. Something in Luke shifted. Clara wasn't just talking about a random client. She was talking about a family. Mr. Othman, if you have been to Seychelles, if you have been in touch with Victor, then you must have heard about Richard Calloway. My niece may have done a good job on him, but she didn't exploit what wasn't already there. She spent almost 2 years studying him, his lifestyles and his fears. That filth got what he deserved, and my little niece delivered the landing hammer perfectly. The world around Luke was beginning to spin faster now. You knew about Calloway too? What exactly happened? How did she get entangled with him? Clara sat back down, her attention and eyes now fully on Luke. Richard had a way of taking advantage of vulnerable people. His insurance company defrauded people in the most subtle way possible. First, they'd give you promising benefits. Then all of a sudden, change of policies. They always had a reason why you wouldn't get your full package when you needed it. Sometimes, nothing. Thousands lost their savings to him, and he had his way around the court. You lost your money to Calloway? Luke asked, his voice almost a whisper. A family did, Clara responded, her gaze steady on him. A very dear person, and it killed him. Then she paused, letting the quiet to contrast the truths in the air. So when the offer came from a competitor to take him down, Clara resumed, my little niece was more than happy to take up on it. Calloway liked wild ladies, and my niece could be anything. Clara concluded, and silence ensued. Luke glanced away for a bit, a new curiosity tugging in his heart. Did Amanda ever mention me to you? Clara glanced at him. A chuckle escaped to the corner of her lips. Mr. Othman, you are asking the wrong question. Did she? Just answer me, Luke pressed. But Clara ignored the question. You see, there are roads that you walk, choices that you make, and they alter your life permanently. My little niece wasn't perfect in her choices too, but she tried her best to do as little good as she could to the world. She has lived many lives, become many different persons in the past, carried out several jobs. Calloway was supposed to be the last of them. Sometimes a reason comes that forces us, not just to change our ways, but to become a new person. Aaron was that reason for Amanda. Clara stood up and brought down a picture frame hanging just above her chair. She flipped the back and withdrew a smaller photo hidden inside it. Then she slid it across the table. There he saw it, Amanda cradling a child he'd never seen. His throat went dry. He picked up the photograph, his thumb brushing over Amanda's smile. Who's the kid? He demanded. That's Aaron, her son, Clara responded. That's her reason for choosing to become a new person. Clara leaned closer to Luke, whose focus was solely on the small photo in his hand. She didn't run away from you, Luke. She ran to stay hidden from her past. That your beautiful vacation plan to Seychelles is one she can never take. But she had no way of telling you without getting you entangled into her past. A past she didn't want you to know about. Mr. Othman, she truly wants you to stop searching for her. Hopefully you've not drawn the wrong attention already. Now you've known her truth, the best way you can help her protect it is to stop looking. My little niece ran, not because she didn't have the resources to face Richard Calloway, but because if anything happens to Aaron, her life would be shattered. That's the truth. That's her truth. Luke stumbled back a step, as though her words had struck him physically. He pressed a hand to his forehead, pacing. The office felt suddenly too small, too suffocating for the storm tearing through him. When you stepped into the bank 3 weeks ago, Clara resumed again, this time her voice carrying a sort of conviction. I knew who you are. You asked if she ever mentioned you. No, she didn't. She loved you dearly. She loved you so much that she couldn't stand you knowing her truth. She couldn't tell you to your face because she knew that a single word from you would convince her, even against her better judgment. Yes, she loved you that much. 2 years ago, when she mentioned you to me, I saw the love and tenderness in her eyes. The night before she left, I still saw that same tenderness in her eyes. She could have told me, Luke eventually managed, the tears in his eyes almost betraying his training. We'd have found another way. Exactly why she didn't. When you booked the reservations, you logged her details and passports online. That was enough risk she couldn't ignore. You've met Victor. There are at least 2 other men like him. Men who believe my niece owe them big time. They are always looking, always listening. Luke brushed off a line of tears soaking off his eyelids as he moved towards the open window. Staring out into the street, he muttered almost to no one. So what now? Do I keep chasing her? Keep tearing through the wreckage she left behind? Clara rose from her chair and made towards the window where Luke stood, handing him another envelope. That's the choice, Luke. Keep chasing her shadow or protect the boy she sacrificed everything for. Luke's breath hitched as he unfolded the page. Amanda's handwriting spilled across it, steady this time, not rushed. If you're here, you've seen and heard enough. Aaron is safe. My love for you was real, but the storm I carry cannot touch you. Please don't follow me further. Silence pressed in, heavy and final. The letter in his hand seemed to burn, Amanda's words echoing in his head. My love for you was real. Please don't follow me further. The truth, he had found it, and it left him more broken than before. Back in Luke's Washington Street, it was different now. No longer the restless silence of a man pacing, tearing through drawers in desperation, but the settled hush of someone who had made a decision. Inside the house, Luke moved with measured steps. The chaos of the past days, the frantic searches, the sleepless nights had distilled into a strange, steady calm. At his desk, he opened the bottom drawer, slid Amanda's letters inside, and turned the key in the lock. The metallic click echoed in the still room. His hand lingered on the drawer. For the first time since Amanda vanished, His chest wasn't clawed open with panic. The decision was made. Whatever storms Amanda had fled, whatever truth still lay in shadow, he would protect the boys she had sacrificed everything for. Protect Aaron. Luke leaned back, exhaling slow, his gaze drifting toward the window. The faint glow of the street lamps cut across the blinds. He didn't notice the shape outside. Across the street, partially hidden by the shade of an elm, a figure stood still as stone. Taller, harder, arms folded, breath steady, waiting. The faint red ember of a cigarette pulsed once, then died, crushed underfoot. A phone clicked open, its screen washing the watcher's face in a cold glow. The voice that spoke was distorted, metallic, more machine than man. "I found where he lives," the figure murmured, gaze never leaving the house. "We could use him." The call ended. The figure melted back into the shadows, leaving only the hum of the street lamp and the illusion of peace. Inside, Luke turned off the desk lamp and headed toward the bedroom, unaware of the storm about to break through his door. One he wasn't prepared for. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.